And we're live. I'm sorry, I was a right dumb fuck there. I've left the mute button on. Hello, everyone. We've got three in the chat already. Pop in and say hello so that I know that the comments are working. As you can see tonight, myself until Nicholas comes. How's everybody's Sundays? I hope you are all having a good Sunday. Sorry, this is quite out of sync, but I've not been keeping well. So, yep, Eric, I'm live tonight because my crime show wasn't on Thursday. So I'm doing one tonight. Just to make up for Thursday. It's good to see you. I hope you're well. So tonight, folks, I'm going to be talking about Charles Bronson. Now, it's not the film star Charlie Bronson. I think people get quite mixed up when we talk about Charles Bronson. Oh, hello, Nick.
Hey, well, sorry I'm a minute or two late.
Oh, it's you. I forgive you.
I got here as quick as I could. The connection was being a problem.
No, you're all right. I didn't really start much apart from I started talking and I hadn't unmuted myself.
Okay, I'm actually just about to appear on camera in just a moment. I'm just trying to turn on the OBS program so I can show my face.
Hey, this is weird like this, right? I'll tell you what, I'll even put my camera on, right? But please excuse how rough I look. Still not 100%, but so
we're now showing our faces.
I know, doesn't matter how rough we are. Stuff it. So tonight we're talking about Charles Bronson. Now, it's not the film star. Over in America, I don't know how much you guys know about this guy over here. So for them that doesn't know, I'll give you a wee bit of background. Charles Bronson is Britain's longest serving there's the beautiful people. You stop talking about Nick like that. For people over in America that doesn't know who Charles Bronson is, Charles Bronson is a long-serving British prisoner who only went in, believe it or not, for robbery. But because of how violent Charles Bronson is, they've kept him there. Basically, they have let him out and then he's been back in.
Really?
Yeah. Rita thought it was the actor. Well, funny enough, you're going to, I think it's the actor, but his right name is Michael Gordon Peterson, better known as Charles Bronson, is a British criminal with a violent and notorious life as a prisoner. He's been in Broadmoor, he's been in Ashworth, he's been in high securities mental hospitals.
Mental institutions.
I mean, his first arrest was a petty crime. He was convicted and sentenced in 1974 to 7 years imprisonment for armed robbery. Further sentences were actually opposed because of his attacks on prisoners and guards. Upon his release in 1987, he began a bare-knuckle boxing career in the East End of London. His promoter thought he needed a more suitable name. Now, if any of you have seen the film Bronson, that's exactly like what Charles Bronson had to actually do, was actually change his name. Right. And he actually suggested changing his name to Charles Bronson after the American actor, believe it or not.
Wow.
He actually returned to prison in 1988 on conviction concerning another robbery. He's a violent prisoner and has taken a number of hostages in the course of confrontations with guards, resulting in sentences of life imprisonment. Now, he's been held at times in each of England's three special psychiatrist hospitals. Now, he's been featured in books, interviews, the studies of prison reform and treatment, He has said, I'm a nice guy, but sometimes I lose all my senses and become nasty. That doesn't make me evil, just confused. That's basically the
It's kind of a
long
bit
and
hard
short
to say.
of who he
Yeah.
is. I mean, this guy is just, oh wow. He's went for parole. He wants to be paroled. He's 70 years old now, Nick. He should be out. He's never murdered anyone. He's never done anything bad.
So how?
He's at
Oh,
sorry, on you go, Nick.
I was gonna. So how long, in fact, has he been in prison for now?
You're talking about and probably I think I read somewhere the other day that he's been in 38 years, in fact, probably longer than that, Nick. But they won't let him out because of how dangerous he is. But I don't think he would be dangerous to society. I mean, he's 70-year-old now. And at
Right.
the end of the day, he's never killed anyone, ever. It's just been his act of violence. I mean, here's prime example. I'm going to try and say this without laughing, right? But I recently watched something. His son doing an interview with James English. James English is a public figure who talks to everyone, gangsters, people that served in the army, everything, right? That
Yeah, like
James English
basically
talks to.
kind of like basically different people from different walks of life, in a way.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And what happened? Oh, Rita says she's glad the both of us are
Yes.
feeling better. Thank you very much, Rita.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm still feeling pretty tired, but other than that, I'm fine though. So I'm way better than what I was a few days prior.
I, I know me and Nick went off together. You think we'd give each other COVID?
Hey, Nat.
So, hey, Nettie, how you doing? So the next thing you know, so what was I saying, Nick? Oh, aye, about him, obviously. Oh, I've lost my train of thought, fuck me. Right, please excuse me tonight, guys, my brain's a bit the night. I feel like, shh. So yeah, Charles Bronson. So yeah, I mean, he's been in, like, prison, Nick, for a very long time, and he's no actually did anything but be violent inside. But I was telling you the funny, right? So I'll tell you this story without laughing, right? So James English was doing an interview with the Sun, and he says to him, I'm laughing because I know it's coming out my mouth. So he turned in and he says to him, what about the time that your dad held the 3 Iraqis? He says, for as hostage. And he said, yeah, he says he'd been reading in the paper or seen it on the news, that obviously, that's when, oh no, don't say the C word. Try not to, Eric.
No,
Right,
it's not a paranormal hangover. It's because he's referencing when I went up to Wisconsin 2 days ago. It's actually no, it's from work. Work's been kind of beating my ass a few times. So
Oh,
yeah, it's
my
been kind
poor
of rough.
Nick.
Yeah.
So he'd read, he'd seen, sorry, or he'd read about the 3 people that taken hostages in Baghdad or something, and they got sent to Belmarsh, right? So I'm laughing. I shouldn't laugh. So Charles Bronson went into their cells and went, right, boys, yous are prisoners of me now. So
Oh
he,
my god.
so he tied one up and he put one under the bed. He, he, he tied another one with a noose in the neck, and he got the third one to tickle his feet. So he made, oh, Eric, you know you're welcome to talk anytime. Just tell me to shut up. So obviously he had made demands, and the 3 demands were a jam sandwich, a helicopter, and an AK-40. And his boy said to him, why did you ask for a jam sandwich? He says, well, I was hungry.
Jeez.
So, like, honestly, I mean, Tom Hardy's actually banned facing Charles Bronson again because he made a film about him and because how popular the film became.
Hey, Nigel.
Hey, Nigel.
Very quickly. So I don't mean to cut you off. I just thought I should let you know. I mean, I saw the destinations. I know we have it on things, but you actually forgot to put it on the thing's Facebook page. So I put it on already.
See, I didn't. I actually intentionally left it off because I thought I'd be treading on somebody else's toes. That's why I didn't put things.
Yeah, I don't think there's any shows that were running, so I think we're fine.
All right, well that's cool. That's cool because I was like, that's why I'd left a voice clip and saying that I hadn't put it on. But hey, that's cool because I didn't want to tread on somebody's toes and then somebody complains, "Oh, she's been to my show."
Right. Yeah. I don't think they. Yeah, I actually looked already. There's nothing running. Nothing else running. At least not yet.
Yeah.
So later today.
Oh, thank God then. See, I've probably read the wrong times. See, because I'm still getting used to time zones, I've probably looked at Jeremy's schedule and looked at the wrong time and went, geez, somebody's on.
Well, you know what? I actually had a problem with one of the other shows when I was on Dodge Show on Friday because he was doing a show for your fans. And this was not necessarily because of the time or whatever. This is the first time that anybody's ever done this on this network, but I had to jump off the studio at one point, and Don and Jill were on, and because that was when I was coming home from Wisconsin, and I said I had to get off for a few minutes. So, however, I was broadcasting from my phone this time instead of my computer. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes I think I ever made. As I said, hey guys, I'm like, hey guys, I gotta get off here for a couple minutes. I'll be right back. And I pressed the button on the phone, but what I didn't realize was that it looks like some of the buttons like we have here to control the studio or whatever, some of them are different. So like, for example, the end broadcast, you know, like how it's on the top right screen.
Hey, Robbie.
And you got the leave studio button on the bottom right hand corner. Well, I pressed that on the phone thinking that I was leaving, but what I didn't realize was that those buttons were switched on the phone. So I actually pressed end broadcast. I was like, oh no, I just ended the damn broadcast.
Well, from now on, I'll tell you, don't do it in your thing. Where's my Eric? I hope I haven't upset Eric. He says about, don't go silent on me.
I think he's joking around.
He better be. I'll be gutted if he stops talking to me. He says I'm here. Good man. Love it. Friday's show, actually, by the way, I just want to say, guys, how proud I am of my boys. Brian and Ian were fucking brilliant, Nick.
I was about
Absolutely
to say, how were they? I was going to ask you about that. How was it?
Well, I sat in the background muted so that I could be there in case I needed to jump in. And I watched the comments, but they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. Honest to God, they were brilliant, and everybody enjoyed the show. So I was well chuffed. I went off with a smile on my face. So
awesome.
that means you and me need more holidays and leave the boys at it. So in 2014, he changed his name again to Charles Salvador in the mark of respect to Salvador Dali, one of his favourite artists. But his early life, I mean, he grew up in London. He was one of three sons. He lived in Luton, but he was obviously a woman. He had a child, which is the man that did the interview. But he's now going for parole, and I think he should be paroled. Really, he should, because he's 70 years old. He spent most of his life in, prison. So hopefully we'll find out soon if he does get paroled.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, he's done more time than what people that murder somebody does.
That's just it's just interesting to know that he's been in prison for so long for such a crime that wasn't even really considered fully. Yeah, just like what Robbie just said. That I mean, yes, he was kind of a bit of a nut job in his early years, but I'm sure age has worn him down.
I mean, I think he's came to realise he doesn't want to die in prison. I mean, Bronson has spent so many years, and I mean, he's been, and it's a shame because he has done more porridge than like what the normal average person with life. As I said, he's almost 50 years behind bars. He's dubbed one of Britain's most violent offenders. But he's 70-year-old now, but Bronson's received a lot of letters. I mean, for 500 people. I mean, funny enough, I was but I was watching a documentary the other night about Broadmoor, and Bronson was one of the people they were talking about, and they were talking about even Peter Sutcliffe, who.
Yo, okay.
I don't know if I've just knocked myself off 2 seconds.
Yeah, because you're kind of freezing up there on your side.
No, I don't know what happened, because I must have pinked my finger off the thing. Wait, see, I'm doing a U, pinging my finger off, and then it's disappeared. So yeah, I mean, he's 50 years behind bars, let the guy out. Can I mean? He's violent. He's done things wrong, but you wouldn't want. I mean, that's just crazy how many times he years.
Well, not to mention also too. I mean, hoping by especially by now he should be. He should have learned his lesson. For the things that he was doing when he was younger.
Some of the comical things he's done is he went up on. He had a rooftop protest, and I'll never forget. I was actually watching this in Broadmoor documentary, and another famous person that was in. Hey Viv, I'll give you a wee phone after the show, my love. One of the things that I watched at Broadmoor when they were talking about, obviously they were talking about some of the people they had in there. So it was people like Ronnie Cray, Charles Bronson, Peter Sutcliffe, and I think Robert Napper. And when we were talking about Bronson, well, they were actually talking about Ronnie Cray, a lady that was a good friend of Ronnie Cray's. I have a letter I could get my hands on right now from the man himself. Ooh, sounds good.
Check that out.
Still wouldn't want to get on his wrong side even now. I can understand Robbie. So this woman was reminiscing about the time she went to see Ronnie, and there was all this commotion. And when she looked up, there was Charles Bronson on top of the roof having a rooftop protest where he taken the slates off the roof and he flung them to the ground. And it was like things like that he had done. I mean, he's held everybody hostage. He's a lawyer. He's held prison officers. He's held doctors, nurses, the full shebang.
Jeez.
But see, when you hear this guy talk to like his family and talk to friends, he's really, really down to earth. Viv says March 30th we'll know if he gets parole. Fingers crossed, Viv. I'm praying that the guy does, because at the end of the day, he's been in for 50 years now. He's done more life sentences than MD. I mean, nobody that, well, with the exception of a couple of people who's got whole, like, what we call in Scotland, well, the UK, is life sentences tariff, which is basically a whole order of life sentences.
That's
He's outrun.
That's similar to what we have over here in Illinois, because like I said, since we no longer have the death penalty, it's life in prison here over here. And for in most cases, because we do have some of the strictest sentences in the state, especially if it's involving murder in the state of Illinois, there's no chance for parole. So we're pretty strict with it.
If he, Eric says, if he was grumpy, then he would be even more grumpy as he gets older. Believe it or not, Eric, see, listening to him actually speak to like his son and speak to somebody else on the phone, he always sings down the phone. He does. He says he's had to. What is it? He sang to his son. It was quite comical. He turned around and he sang, "I've had too much porridge," and then he starts. He sounds so cheery. It's so funny. But what you've got to question is, really, ideally, is
no,
what?
Go ahead.
Eric's laughing. He is a funny guy. What you've got to question, and I'm really going to. He's done so much for charity too. He built schools abroad. Eric wants me to sing it again, especially for you. I've had too much porridge. I can't fucking sing. He's built skills abroad. Oh, wait a minute. I'm jumping between. See, you're putting me off. Robbie says prisons here are too soft here. Prisoners are looked after far better than pensioners and most vulnerable of our society. The thing about it though is, Robbie, is that there should come a point when you're dealing with somebody like Bronson where you say to yourself, what else could we do to help? Because at the end of the day, not being funny, the guy only went in for armed robbery. It's not like he'd murdered MD. It's not like he's done anything that terrible. So you do ask yourself, what kind of rehab can folk like prisons do to help these prisoners? Slap Steve with fucking pleasure.
Stop it.
She did say slap Steve. Piper. She'll kick your ass. Anthony Lewis says, how does this person act while not around any metal? He's
the prison
prisoners.
There's a prison merry-go-round.
Tell listeners about that, Lo.
Lois, very quickly, before we continue on with this, actually, I will have to. I mean, we don't need to end the broadcast, but I'm actually gonna have to remove one of the destinations. It turns out the Things Network Facebook page. I didn't even realize this. I should have talked to Jeremy first. Greg's going to be going on his show in a few minutes, so we can still continue live, but he doesn't really go on all the destinations from what Jeremy told me of things, so we can keep like LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch open, but I will have to remove the Facebook page. I mean, I will have to take the Facebook one out. but we can still continue live though. Just so you know.
I know that's fine.
Yeah.
Right, well, you do it, Nick, because I'll end up doing a you and then the
Yeah.
full broadcast, so I don't know how to do this
Yeah, you
shit.
don't want to.
So I'll just leave it in your arms.
You don't want to end up in the same fate that I was on Friday night.
Exactly. I'm not deleting no fucking show and then restarting it and talking the same shit.
Yeah, so yeah, for some, I should just probably point out because I know there's some people from the Facebook page. Yeah, we're gonna have to get. We're still gonna be broadcasting, but we're gonna have to get off the Facebook page because Greg's starting his show in just a few minutes. So once it hits 4:00, I'll take that one off, and if those want to still continue to watch us, you can watch on the Simply Spooky Facebook page.
That's fine. Right,
Yeah,
so we
wanna
finish
get
in
the word out.
broadcast so that I don't start talking like an idiot.
No, we're still going to be broadcasting. It just won't be on the Facebook page.
Right. So everybody come over to Simply Spooky. Forget about Things Network. Come over to us. Oh, I'm going to get my ass kicked for that one.
I was gonna, if that was me, so I would be like, "Well, I'm in trouble."
You know me. I don't care. Right, the prison merry-go-round is not good at all. Tell the listeners about that, well. Viv, can you relate in that one more so that I know? Just in case I start talking about something going in the opposite direction, you know me. He was out and back in quicker than my washing machine does a spin cycle. That's because they don't like him. Hiya, Vivian. Simply Spooky forever. You're right, Vivian. You're right. Thanks like that.
No,
You little traitor.
It's no, that's awesome. I actually like how she typed that. That's awesome.
I know. That's you. We'll still convert you yet, son. Don't you worry. But I mean, he has had like women. Do you know what? I should do a show on this, right? But there's many women out there that have offered to marry him and everything. In fact, he was.
I was gonna say I've heard of stories like that for certain inmates. You know, like when they've served sentences for such a long time, that it actually attracts like certain individuals, including mainly a lot of women who want to marry, you know, these particular inmates, even if they've committed. It's still kind of amazing how there's even some inmates who are even worse than he is who have wanted to marry some of these crazy folks in prison. Maybe not him, but still.
Look at Peter Sutcliffe, right? I'll use him as an example. When we were talking about this Broadmoor, when we were talking about the Broadmoor, you know, the hospital and obviously going through the Cray, you know, Bronson and that. When they were talking about Sutcliffe, he was actually bragging about how many women were actually writing in them. In fact, he talked about one woman that that Sutcliffe was writing to that was 21 years old, and by that time he was 70.
Yeah, it's like well over 50 years.
And it was like, what the hell? To tell you the truth, I've been staying away from the Things Network.
How come, Eric?
I don't blame you, Eric.
Well, I'm just going to say, hi, what the hell? All right, I'm going to take, okay, just before we get I'm going to take the Things Facebook page off because Greg.
Right, I'm not going to watch, just in case.
Yeah, I got it this time. So for those who are watching from the Facebook Things page, you're going to have to watch the Simply Spooky Network page. So
come over
to the Simply Spooky Network page.
Come, my precious. Come. Right, don't end the broadcast. Everybody, close your eyes.
and
Oi!
stop.
There's my boy. Viv, you have a funny personality. She does. They just get the lifers to be moved from prison to prison. So, aye, right, sorry, aye, I know where you're going now. Basically, what prisons tend to do, and they probably do it all across the world, not just in Britain. They probably do it. They probably do it everywhere.
I'm sorry. I just had to bring up Vivian's comment right here.
Eric,
Yeah,
clear me
so I hate to tell you, Eric, but you can't escape things or simply spooky.
So what they do is, right, as Viv says, right, they've got lifers to be moved from prison to prison, right? Because see if it's like everywhere. See if you have a problem with somebody at work, right? Say a workplace, right? I'll use it as a prime example so that people understand. And you have a problem with a staff member, right? And your management, you're obviously going to get them moved on. So they're not your problem anymore. They're somebody else's problem.
Right.
And that's kind of what they do with prisoners.
Oh yeah, I mean it's typical for such certain inmates to be transferred to different types of prisons just because of I mean obviously yes, I understand if it was like a very dangerous and aggressive inmate that just refused to be rehabilitated following I mean much like I told you guys a few weeks ago about the Supermax in Florence, Colorado. You know, for put it this way, like if you look at something like the Supermax, those inmates got sent for a really good reason because usually, again, it's because they have shown that they are far too dangerous to even for a maximum security prison. Essentially, those inmates have earned the right to go to the Supermax. But in the case of less dangerous inmates, I mean, yes, another reason is they're trying to move them to a less secure facility because you know they're on good behavior, they haven't shown any resistance or violent tendencies. But the fact of moving them to other prisons just to make it another prison's problem is not really a good thing because well, and when you think about it too, especially if the inmate, if the prison that they're living in may also be close to home, which would also make it difficult for visitations because if you basically like let's say for example like over here the closest prison we have here is Stateville Prison, which is just an hour away out in the town of Crest Hill. I actually saw a documentary about this once, but there was a guy who unfortunately I think he murdered like 2 people, so he's serving a life sentence. I'm obviously assuming he's still in prison for life. And he was sent to Statesville Prison, which was again one of Illinois' maximum security prisons. But the problem was even though he's been on better behavior now, they've had to keep him up there, and his family lives down in Southern Illinois, along with a girlfriend that he had as his attorney, and he used to be down in a different prison called Menard Correctional Center, which is down in Southern Illinois. And they were trying to get him moved back down to Menard because it was, if you were like they said, if you were driving from like where his family and friends lived, it was only like and his attorney, it was only like an hour drive to get to Menard Correctional Center. But to Statesville, you're talking, I mean, that's a different story. If you can manage, I mean, driving an hour to a prison isn't bad, but in a place like Stateville, driving from the bottom area of the state, that was about a good 5 or 6 hour drive to see that inmate. So it's not always the best thing to really transfer inmates just to make it someone else's problem if they haven't really done anything. And that also, makes it difficult for visitors, including their attorneys.
Mm-hmm. Do you know in one of the interviews that I was watching about Charlie Bronson, because as I said, I've obviously I told you, Nosy, obviously I'm doing research into all this because I would love to eventually write my own book on it.
Yeah.
But the thing that galls me about the Nick is the fact that you do wonder, what if the prisons had better rehab skills, right? I can't say the whole word right, so I'll just say rehab is my shorthand.
Rehabilitation.
That's it, Nicholas. You've got it in one. I'm not trying it because I ended up coming out wrong. You
I
think,
got you covered.
oh, you're a babe. I love you. But you do ask yourself, right, if they had a better system that way, then would it no benefit the prisoners better? Rather than, as Viv says, when you're moving somebody from prison to prison to prison, they're really not going to get time to settle into rehabilitation. I think I need rehab. It's alright, love. We'll discuss stuff for you after the show.
Hey, you know what? I'm just going to say this. Again, after what happened on Friday night, I probably need rehabilitation.
I know, my son, that's what, by the way, that's karma for not attending Frighteners on Friday. That's alright, I love you, really. In fact, where now? Shall we go together,
Shall
Nick?
we go together to
Vivian,
rehabilitation?
wait now. Vivian, do you want to come on? I'll send you the link. And you can come on if you want.
Eric's
What,
don't we all?
so,
Yeah, probably in the end, I think we all have to go to rehabilitation together.
right, everyone, let's chant for Viv to come on. Why are we waiting? She's going to kick me right in the arse. But definitely it is. It's like one of the ones that I think, see if they were better, see if they were given a chance to settle, right, into a prison, and actually given rehabilitation, then I think it would make all the difference. Maybe some people can be saved, but if some people don't want to help,
Right.
then you can't really force them. Nick, do me a favour, send the link to Vivian, and she can more than welcome to come on.
Hang
She'll be
on.
like, she'll be like, fuck off, asshole. But I think that would help a lot. I mean, I'm going to do a special with the crime show on innocent people that have been through the mill and that have been in prison, but they haven't actually done anything. Sometimes I have brain farts. So do I, but that's more frequent.
I gotta just bring. I gotta bring this
Oh,
up.
Vivian,
Yeah,
Vivian's coming on.
I just sent it to her.
That's it, sent, love. You come and join me, and I'll put you up beside Nikki, because I know you've got a love for Nikki. I'll play Gooseberry at the bottom. Right, my love, what were you going to say before I rudely interrupted? Nicholas?
Sorry, yeah, I thought the link was sent, but now I just sent it. I'm sorry. Something went wrong with the phone. I don't know what the hell it was.
I wondered what the smell was. Yep. Mama Viv hasn't been on the show, the crime show, before, so let's let her join. And
there's hey Jeremy.
hey Jeremy. But yeah, I think if there was a better system to help these people, I do get it. Some people don't want to help, and I appreciate that. but there's people out there that generally do want help. And as Charles Bronson said, you know, the rehabilitation is really, really bad.
Yeah, I know. It's just, and not only is it just really bad, but it also kind of, I'm not really sure exactly the right word, but it's just, okay, I guess for lack of a better term, it kind of influences these. Oh, I see.
Hey, Mama!
Vivian. Good to see you.
Hello. Oh,
I'm
hang on.
putting you up beside your boyfriend so that I'll sit down here like the big
We love Nick.
How's it
We
going?
love doing that.
He's my toy
welcome.
boy.
Welcome to the crime show, Vivian.
Does that mean we need to commit a crime now?
That is. I hope you know how to hide bodies.
Well,
can you imagine right? Can you imagine right now? I mean, this would be like the uncut version of this crime show, but the difference would be is like we'd have like our faces all blacked out, change voices.
That's that.
guess what I have in my hand?
A letter for Charles Bronson. I didn't want to say it. Oh, the Bronson book.
And it's a movie, and inside there, hang on, I'll put these down for a minute because I'm on my phone. Right, so in here,
Oh my God.
I think this letter, I have more letters, but this one I have to hand.
Well, I did that. I was going to ask you, Mama, Viv, to come on today this way, but I wasn't sure how you would feel about it.
Well, this is the letter, and he's put on the back on the envelope. He signed it Bronson before he changed his name, and he says "Adios amigos" on the back of the letter. Right, so I'll read it to you. I don't mind reading it to you. I'm just trying to put my phone down so I don't have to hold it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
Yeah. So this was the letter, and it's not dated. Oh, yes, he has. He's dated it the 9th of April, this one, 2010. And this was when he was at HMP Woodhill. And he says, "Viv, don't you worry about me. I'm sweet. Sadly, I've not seen film. But my mother represented me at the premiere last year. She said Tom Hardy done me proud. Her only sadness was the end. She thought it would have been nicer to end it peaceful. But Eward, I don't understand that. Something to in this. I can't read this bit. Oh, but it ended it to the last. Something back to my last siege. So he talks about taking somebody hostage or something. That's showbiz for you. So it sounds like they ended it with him having a siege and going back to doing what he was doing rather than.
I can remember. See, because I've seen that film so many times inside out, I know how the ending goes, and he holds a siege and he paints himself basically like gold.
Yeah. He says, "Oh, I'm very impressed," and he underlines impressed, and proud, and he underlines proud of your survival. That was a trip. That was a tough journey you had as a child. So I was talking to him about my childhood journey. So well done, in brackets. I salute you. Try and get me now. Booty, it looks like. Oh, try and get me new book. Diaries from Hell came out last year. So he talks about his new book, which I've got, Diaries from Hell. Because you're reading the old ones, and he put a funny face on the picture. So much has happened since then. Love. Oh, I think it says love, but I think he means good and bad. And he did a smiley face for the good and a sad face for the bad.
Oh.
It's lovely to hear from you. Stay safe, Viv. Signed, Charlie Bronson, and he's dated it. They put P.S. Give my love to your mum. Kiss. Tell her I said she's a very brave lady to have walked away when she did. She's talking about my mum and dad's divorce. So many can't find the strength and end up destroyed or distorted with a life of pain and regrets. So what he's talking about there, rather than walking away, you end up doing something stupid and end up in prison. That's basically what he's saying. So that was the letter. Because he talked about the film, I put that letter in the DVD with the film.
Oh wow!
So that's just something I can get my hands on quickly from Charlie Bronson. So yeah. So when I sell this DVD, the letter will go with it. Not that I'll sell it.
Aye. But I hope in March 30th, and I know many people have split opinions about this, but I hope March 30th the guy gets let out. He spent 50 years in jail. He's done a lot more than people in life sentences get altogether.
I'm very jammy in the respect that I had a friend. Well, I've got a friend that works in a Category A prison, and he had Bronson in there with him. And there was an instance where they were getting ready to put him back on the merry-go-round. And the reason they do that is so these lifers don't get complacent being in the same place with the same guards, doing the same thing, same people, day in, day out, which is the reason why. And that they reckon that it helps their rehabilitation. So on this particular occasion, they were getting ready, they stop all his visits. Now, it's hard to get a VO to see him because they don't just check you out, they check your family out, and the slightest little thing that's amiss, they will not grant the visiting orders. So anyway, it was a member of his family that was coming to visit him. They just stop the VO and they don't give a reason why. So when he was getting excited and getting ready for his visit with his family member, they told him that it wasn't going to happen. And when he asked why, they said to him, it just isn't. Because they're not obliged to give a reason why the visit's not going to happen. So he was in the gym at this point, and he asked one of the other prison officers about the prison and why the visit and why it was being stopped. And he had an attitude, and he did say, "You're not getting one." And he said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because you ain't." Wouldn't give a reason, and so it kicked off in the gym. And at that point, he was picking up gym equipment and throwing it around. So that prison officer comes out of the gym, locks the gym up with him in it, making it secure, then sets the alarm off. The minute that happens, because they're Category A, they have guards on hand that can do riots. So they put the riot gear on, run up to the gym. They didn't go in at this stage, they just watch him. And this man, and bearing in mind he's an old man, he's picking up gym equipment and throwing it around like it's nothing. It went on for quite a while. And so they decided to get the dogs and put the dogs in the gym. They set the dogs in on him. And the minute that happened, he calmed down and he was subdued and taken back to his cell without warning that night. So they don't even give him time to pack or anything. It's like, out, come on, straight in the sweat box, as we call it, and off to the next prison. All your stuff will follow on, sort of thing. So to be treated like that, I know that I would kick off. You would kick off. They're not playing fair with him, and it's like they're doing that to incite a reaction to get this merry-go-round move done quicker, which I personally think is wrong. That man, when you think about it, spent all that time not just in prison but in solitary confinement, and that is against European law. We're not in the EU anymore, but it goes against certain laws. And the fact that he's in there doing nothing, just sitting in his room for 23 hours a day, You want something to happen. You want something different to break the monotony. And you know what? He's always admitted that he doesn't like establishment. He doesn't like being the authorities telling him, you do this, you do that, simple things. That he's going to rebel against that. I would. And having a fight breaks up the boredom, so it puts time on his sentence. Taking a hostage just for something to do to piss off the prison warden. After a period of time, you're not going to care just because you can. I understand that. There is one prison guard. Personally, this is my own opinion. I think he needs a slap because he's come out saying that he feared for his own life and this, that, and the other. And, you're trained to do that job. You're trained for that eventuality. And if it happens and you're telling me that you're scared for your own life, you shouldn't have been in that job in the first place. I personally don't think he'll get parole because if he does, he's then got his solicitor that would jump into action and now go and sue the UK government and the Home Secretary for keeping him in prison in solitary for so long. I think it's got repercussions. As much as I'd like to see him freed.
Hello, Chantel.
Hello, Chantel, my lovely. Yeah, I don't think that he'll ever come out now. He'll die in there because the government are running scared.
I worked 16 years in solitary confinement, or as we call special housing. The thing is, right here, guys, here's a question, and for the question for the guys in the chat. But do you think that if prison officers, and I'm not saying all prison officers, I'm saying a good bit of them, not all of them, but shouldn't they? So basically, it's like working with the elderly. You've got to have a certain manner. And do you think
a lot of them are bent? But Lois, a lot of them are bent, and I should imagine it's the same in the United States. They're the ones bringing in drugs. They're the ones bringing in contraband. They're the ones doing this, that, and the other.
There's a lot of them that you see now. A lot of the ones that you see nowadays. And I watched somebody the other day doing auditing a prison, and he was shouting across the road about obviously the amount of people that sleep with prisoners, bringing everything for prisoners like phones, drugs, anything they want, day jobs for them inside out. And I was actually watching a documentary about HMP Franklin. Now, for everybody that doesn't know what HMP Franklin is, it's a category 8A prison, but it's a prison inside a prison. Yeah. And when I was watching a documentary about HMP Franklin for research, what I discovered was, and it said quite freely, was that the prison officers are just as hard as what they've got the Geordie Mafia inside of there.
I think that Franklin is the one that has. Nick might know a bit about this. They might have it in America. They have higher than a Category A prisoner, and higher than a Category A is terrorism. You're terrorists. Yeah. And I'm sure it's Franklin that has the prison, like the cage within inside a prison that houses the terrorists. They don't go to normal.
We have two different types of prisons here in the United States. We used to have, neither of them are in our state, but in California, which is also like considered where a lot of the a lot of the Hispanic gangs are. A lot of them are locked up in this prison. It's called Pelican Bay State Prison, and they have something that's called the Special Housing Unit or the SHU, and that is where. Yeah, I know. It's because it's SHU, the SHU. That's where. Yeah, but that's where you have not necessarily the terrorists, but a lot of the most dangerous criminals, especially like a lot of the high-ranking gang members and stuff. And it's the exact same thing. Most people would say it is a prison within a prison, and they have again the leaders of like the most notorious gangs, like. You got the leaders of the Mexican Mafia, the Aryan Brotherhood, Nuestra Familia, the Black Gorilla family. There was like all these different big leaders that are if you
Sorry,
learn about the if you learn about the SHU in Pelican Bay State Prison, it says they say about 95% of the time you can hear a pin drop in that prison. There's almost like 1,200 men living together under one roof in individual cells, but the one we have that's the most secure, even more secure than the SHU in Pelican Bay, is we have, and I told Lois this, was the Supermax in Florence, Colorado. Not only do you have more of those high-ranking gang members, but that's also where we have a lot of the terrorists, including one of the guys who he never actually took part in it, but he was still associated with it, including one of the guys who was associated with 9/11. He's locked up at the Supermax.
Wow.
He's serving currently 6 consecutive life sentences. So that will mean he will never, ever get out of prison.
Looking at Franklin was originally opened in 1983 with 4 wings, each holding 108 in single cells. A further 2 wings opened in 1998. An open gallery designed to hold an additional 206. There's actually 800 folk there now. A specialised dangerous and severe personality disorder unit opened at the prison in May 2004. The prison now has increased, but some of the people that they've had, funny enough, Charles Bronson, they've had Paul John Ferris, they've had Harold Shipman, Peter Sutcliffe. The current inmates is Ian Cuntley. Sorry, Ian Cuntley. I must have read that very wrong. Leaviel Belfield, Peter Chapman. They've got other different ones, but as you were saying, Viv, some of the terrorists are actually in there. In fact, their new arrival, Wayne Custins, he's in Franklin.
Yeah.
But yeah, Franklin, as I said, I watched I did watch obviously a not a documentary, but it was talking about the prison. It was telling thing that I just think, oh wow, it's like, honestly, like these. It's good that they have these sort of prisons that I guess that separate from. I shouldn't really separate them because murder is murder, but you get what I mean. But you've got murder, and then you've got serial killing.
Serial killing, premeditated murder of kids that murder kids.
Yeah.
It's all going on.
But it's definitely, I mean, as I said, one obviously I'm doing shows. Get your words out, Lois, fuck's sake. Right, start again. Right, next week I'm doing the next subject, the Cleveland torso killer.
Yeah, the Cleveland Butcher, yeah.
I didn't want to do it without you, and I didn't know if you were coming tonight, so I didn't do it without you. So that's why I chose Bronson. But the week after that, I would love to do about the innocent people that has standed trial, whether it's in America, whether it's in Britain, and served time when they've been innocent. It'll be quite a controversy one show, because there will be a few cases that I will be talking about that people are saying they're innocent and they have been found to be innocent. Our Vivian's disappeared. She does that. She'll come back.
Yeah, she'll be back.
One of the ones over here, they're talking about that.
Oh, yep, she's back.
Hello, my darling.
I've been pressing buttons, sorry.
I was like, my Vivian, she disappeared.
So I was pressing buttons. I was trying to make it better, but I made it worse.
Just throw them all in an island somewhere. Bobby says solitary is also used for protective custody.
Yes, it is.
And
sometimes it is.
Sorry, guys, kept getting flung out. Only just managed to get back in. Bobby says, I would love to have Bobby on the show. Here we have
I was going to say, didn't we talk about wanting to have him on at some point?
Yeah, that would be great because obviously, talk about his times in the prison and that.
Do you know what I've been watching on? I watch a thing over. I'm addicted to it. It's American Court TV,
Yeah, I watched that myself.
and I've been watching the Murdoch family murders, and they made a documentary, and it's on Netflix, and it's
Yeah,
like it's all over the place over here at the minute. Um, I just can't
that
believe this guy.
that's a really good one. I actually watched the one in Netflix. Um, it, it seemed that the family were well known in the town, like they had all sides in law. Um, so yeah, I really did because I started watching it. I watched the first part and I watched most of the second part. I'll actually need to watch the rest of it. But it looked really good. But you never know what happens behind closed doors.
Right.
This is what happens when you let sorry, Nick, I don't mean you, and there's a lot of good people in America, but when you have guns, when
Yeah.
you think it's part of your constitution to bear arms, it doesn't physically mean produce a gun.
Right.
And I think it's interpreted so wrong, and so many kids get hold of these guns. I think weekly, daily, there are kids taking guns into schools and shooting so many people it's just ridiculous. And the gun laws out there with the
Oh my
licensing laws is
God.
still not right. It's still not right out
It's
there.
not. It's not. I mean, you guys have obviously heard. I mean, as some people may find it hard. Well, sometimes even for us here in the U.S., it's hard for us to believe that we've earned this title. But we're basically the one country that's really had the more shootings than any other country in the world, at least as far as we know. And especially with these
Mhm.
school shootings and stuff like that, it's just constant. And what I'm about to say next, it just sounds so wrong, but it just seems like it's just the reality of it is when you start hearing shooting after shooting after shooting after shooting, whether it's at a school or wherever, you you just become so desensitized by because it becomes eventually to a point where it's just like another part of your day, like, oh, there was a
Do you
shooting. It's
know?
like
Funny,
it
funny
just like
enough, Nick.
it's terrible for me to say that, trust me, but you just get so used to it because it just gives that sign like nobody wants to do anything, nobody cares. So it's
Do you
unfortunate.
know? That's funny you should say that, Nick. That's at like Glasgow, right? Glasgow's quite like that when it comes to murders. They don't
Wow.
they don't see it as a. It's just like an everyday thing. It is because
Yeah,
it's like,
Jamie.
hey Parker, it becomes like an everyday thing.
Do you know what?
It was,
Do you know what, Lois? When I went to the States, right, I was shocked to find out as a visitor to the country, I can go to a gun fair, buy a ticket for one of their raffles, and win a gun, go and buy ammunition so easily, take that
It's
gun out,
so easy to get.
shoot whoever I want to shoot, jump on a plane and come back home.
it is. Boob, I was ready to say Booby said.
Booby,
Sorry,
Bobby.
Bobby.
It's her accent, Bobby.
Please forgive me. Europe has its share of mass murders. These people are sick. Guns are a side issue because if someone is determined to kill, they'll find a way. We'll just make it harder if guns are taken away.
See,
He's laughing.
if I could basically point out one other thing, and this is actually in connection with what we're talking about, it's actually something that's been occurring with us is as you guys know, for me that I work at a grocery store. And lately, we have been going through a lot of computer training, and a lot of it is on, even though it's rather unlikely, but we still have never doubted it ever. Where we go through we've been going through training of what would happen if we had a shooter come to our store because it's not just restricted at schools; it's happened at grocery
Yeah.
stores too. What do we do when something like that happens. And I think a lot of us, including myself personally, we're always keeping our ears open because it's only a matter of time before someone could walk in, and next thing you know, you could hear that classic sound, the before they open fire.
Yeah. Well, start throwing watermelons at them, Nick.
Oh, jeez. I wish.
But it is
Sorry,
sad.
guys, that's just my sense of humour. Eric says that's why I love the UK gun laws.
It is sad that the children in America, as part of, we have a fire drill and the kids have to all congregate, go outside and meet at meeting place. But they also have what they call the lockdown drill. And even primary school children are having to do it. Like if somebody walks in the school with a gun, what do you do? And they're teaching the kids that. These are innocents, innocent little kids that they shouldn't have to be doing that. And you know what?
No.
What it brings it back to, remember that Charles Salvador, as he likes to be called now, he never killed anyone. And look at the sentence he's done. Ridiculous.
Right. That's what I was saying tonight. Overall, that the fact that this man has spent most of his life in prison, 50 years to be exact, and it's the thought of waiting now. He's done more life sentences than people in the UK get. More than well, the exception of obviously people that have got whole life term tariffs.
Lifetime tariff is only a lifetime tariff. They can do only, some of them only do actually 10 years. It's when they get on Her Majesty's service, Her Majesty's pleasure, or it's going to be His Majesty's pleasure now, which is a minimum of 30 years before they're entitled to parole.
It's shocking.
It's just ridiculous.
I'm not Yeah, Eric, I know that for a fact. What he said, police gives away guns. Of course, that's only certain states. I know here in Illinois they don't really do that. I guess it depends which state that you're in. But yeah, it's so easy. And I'm just gonna say this because being the youngest one here, growing up. What I was gonna say was, growing up. In my era, we were never exposed to guns or anything like that. I mean, we were told about it, but we were never exposed to all this stuff. And honestly, I never even got to really learn how to even use one until I was 24 years old. So we're talking years after I graduated school.
Being the youngest fucking here, I think I'll be reading Robbie's comment.
What's he saying? Read it out loud. I can't see it.
Robbie's got a good point here.
Guns don't kill people, it's the assholes holding the trigger. Gun laws here changed after a school shooting by a pedo Cub Scout leader and kids all around 10 years old. That was the Dunblane massacre in Scotland.
But you also have people that suddenly lose it. When I say suddenly lose it, you can live a normal life, be in the best job ever, have all this money come in, and something just goes inside your head, mental disorders, things like that, maybe a breakdown, who knows. People just lose it, and it doesn't make them arseholes, cowards or whatever. That their actions are,
right.
But I see the gun one is hard. It's hard because you shouldn't have a gun if you don't own a farm,
Right. Well, not to mention too, another thing to add too is, and especially this is more involving kids, it's also from a lot of the games that they play that involve guns. Now I'm not necessarily blaming the games themselves because, truth be told, myself, I grew up playing those games all the time, but I never, not even close, had the idea of wanting to go out and actually use a gun. I played this stuff because it was fun, but I never.
Bobby.
Oh, take care, Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
I had never once. It's like some people always think that it's caused that influence, for people.
But is it though,
these
Nick?
kids. But yeah, I was never that type of person. I just
but is it though? Is
I
it
played
though?
for
Because
I played
Bye,
for
Bobby.
entertainment.
but is it though? Because I don't think that I don't know. See, I let my children watch horror films from a really young age. I let
Yeah.
my kids play with toy guns. They had toy swords. I, for one, collect knives. I've got some. I love a knife or a
Right.
blade, and I've got some stuff that could be considered illegal, but they're just display purposes. Doesn't mean that I'm going to go and stab someone. Would I stab someone if they broke into my house? Yes, I would. Would that make me a murderer? Not necessarily. Depends on the situation. So it's quite hard to call. My kids don't have no interested in knives or guns, or they don't even particularly like horror films because I think they've seen them all. They think they're
Right.
rubbish. But
Yeah.
am I a bad mum for letting them see that? Am I distorting their brain? I don't think so, because it depends how you educate them and bring them up. It's all up down to the individuals. I'd say look at the parents and the upbringing, personally.
Jamie says, so you're 40 years in USA to get parole, and if you miss parole, don't get it. I had more time on your sentence for until your next one's up.
I do.
Eric says, my dad taught me if I'm not going to kill it, don't aim at it. Peter says, hi Parker. And
Wait,
Eric
Parker.
says, I make knives and swords.
If I
The
could
thing
point
about it is
out,
that,
I'm
yep,
sorry,
sweetie, on
Oscar.
you go. No.
I was gonna say, if I could actually point out another example, and believe it or not, I mean, I'm not gonna say the person's name, but I actually do know someone who I knew there was something wrong. Although it wasn't it did not revolve around guns or anything like that. It was actually more of a bomb threat. There was I was still in high school when this happened, and this was actually someone who at one point was somebody who used to be a friend of mine. Now, I get it totally. He had a learning disability like I did, but he was just that, to kind of make things short, he was just that type of person who I think was just kind of desperate. He was always like texting people constantly, claiming he was having parties. He was trying to ask girls on dates, even though they already had maybe somebody. And apparently back in 2010, as I remember from the article, was that he was talking to some girl early in the morning, and the girl rejected, the advances, like of him asking her out, because he was kind of harassing her. So, and he didn't like that. And what he actually did, and this is something you never ever do. He went on Facebook and he actually wrote on his Facebook saying that he was going to bomb our high school. And also, I went to Glenbrook South. He went, the other school is Glenbrook North. So it was like in the Glenbrook district area. He wanted to do something like that. And when I heard about this whole thing, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And that scared us. So
it sounds a bit like somebody having a breakdown, or you know, like you said, mental health.
Yes,
but they have to check it out. They have to.
Yeah. Yes, Eric, I
hey,
did
Kelly.
know. Yes, Eric, I did know him. I knew him because, and about a year after, when they checked the school, and fortunately, the school was all clear. They didn't find anything like that, and as a result, it's kind of weird. I can never keep track of all these laws. Had they found stuff at the school, he would have actually been, that would have been considered a felony in the United States. And he would have been spending the next 15 years of his life in the state penitentiary. He wasn't even supposed to get out now until 2025. He's not even supposed to be out in society right now. But because they never found anything, it was lowered down to a misdemeanor. And as a result, he only ended up spending, I think, about 2.5 years on probation. And they let him go after. And plus, in addition, even though he was still a student, he was 19 years old. So obviously he was charged as an adult for that crime. But even if he was under 18, that's a very serious charge. Even if he was under 18, he would have still been charged as an adult for that crime. And ironically enough, a year later, after that whole thing occurred, I actually met him in person. And it seemed like to me at first when I met him, he was actually this really nice guy. And I actually was I actually did what even at my age, at the time, I wanted to help him out and see if I could try to kind of rehabilitate him myself and get his life back together. We only ever had one conversation about that whole event. And I mean, I didn't want to go dive too much deeper into it, but I remember talking to him about it. And in the end, he didn't give me a specific reason as to, I mean, other than the rejection, he didn't give me a specific reason as to why. I remember asking him at one point is that when he said this, like, holy cow, sorry guys, I just heard there's a thunderstorm outside.
Brilliant.
Did you guys hear
I,
that?
I thought that was actually coming for your arsenic, but aye,
that
that's all right, man.
No,
Yeah.
that was thunder. That was thunder, actually. So it's perfect timing.
That
But
boy
You
takes
heard
me well.
You heard it here first. Nick farts thunder.
Yep.
no, it was thunder. There's a storm coming. I didn't even know. But what I was going to say was that he didn't give me a specific answer or reason as to why. Because I remember asking him at one point, saying, if in his mind when he was writing this, if this was, considered right or wrong in his view, and what he said was, well, what I said didn't post it that day was neither right nor wrong. I then asked him, well, are you sorry that you did this? And chillingly, he said no.
Oh,
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
And
But on you
go
go,
on, Lois,
beautiful.
go on. No, you
No,
go
no,
on
on you
first.
go, beautiful.
Well, as a
No,
result,
you finish your story, honey.
I remember as far as when they were searching his house, when this whole event occurred, was that a search warrant was obtained for the basement of his house, as well as because there was a storage room. And inside the storage room, they found a collection of bombs hidden in a compartment. It was the planned murder weapons. It looked like it looked like the classic dynamites, like you would see like in cartoons, or like ones that they would use to detonate, mines with. They were like tubular shaped. They were black, had white handles. I mean, even when I look back, it's still amazing to me how a kid 19 years old was able to, have, all these things.
yeah.
And it was just so bizarre. And I do remember, I mean, the article's no longer up, but I remember when this whole thing was up online, I only ever looked at it once. I looked at the article. I remember seeing a snapshot of what he said. I don't know what it was. Maybe this is just me, but I looked at the article. I remember looking at it, and it just seemed like the way how he was saying this threat to our schools, it was almost like in some way he was like aspired to become like a serial killer. He wanted to be like a serial killer by bombing schools. And I have to admit, thank goodness he was caught. And thank goodness especially that he didn't have a car, because it may have been worse. This was bad enough.
Yeah. Maybe it's a cry for help.
I'm smiling, especially for Parker. He just WhatsApp me to smile, so smile.
Yeah, after in the end, when I used to hang out with him, it was just, unfortunately, he was going back to his own ways, like with the harassment texts and stuff like that. It got to a point where I couldn't help out the guy, and I had to back away. So it was becoming too much. It honestly, only other thing I can remember about this guy was even the first time I went to his house. And when I went over to his house, I was 18 years old at the time, so it's still in school. And he was like 20, I think, at that time. And when I went to his house, he had this girl over. And, of course, I don't know what the details are, and I'd rather not want to talk. I'd rather not want to know. But this girl was only 15 when he had her over. It just seemed really weird, bizarre, and somewhat creepy. It seemed like a setup. And after that, it's like, okay, this has gotten kind of strange. But fortunately, she left after an hour. So it was.
No, that's fine, Kelly. Leave that up, Pen.
No, you're fine, Kelly. I just feel like that was probably the first time I think I ever really associate with someone who there was definitely something. I mean, I get he's got a disability, but there was definitely something not right about this guy. Definitely.
Mm.
So,
I mean, and in all honesty, as I said, there's people out there that want to help, need the help, and Eric says lucky he didn't drag you
Yeah,
in with them.
I got out as
Yeah.
soon as I could when I was being hard. I had to be kind of harsh to him, like, because I was hoping that maybe trying to be a lot more strict and a lot more mean, I guess, if you will, would knock him out of it and kind of get him back on track. But there's only so much you can do. That you can't help everybody. In the end, I can't make that decision for them. In the end, that's their decision to make. If they want to make go down that road, that's their choice to make, not mine. So I got out while I still could before anything could happen.
That's that.
Yeah.
Just
That's
have to
why.
walk into your church, bingo. Bingo! Have a good time, Kelly. There is some people in this life that you can help and want to help. There's some people in this life that you try to help but don't want to help. And
I have that
there's
problem
no
with Dan.
point.
It's a bit simple. I
What?
try to help him, but he doesn't want the help.
Who, Dan?
Dan,
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
he's very
Kelly's- Oh no,
simple.
Kelly's not.
All
leaving.
right, sorry, sorry, Kelly, I thought you meant you were leaving. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say just quickly for Kelly. Yeah, Kelly was watching Supernatural Talk on Thursday night, and no, we always do appreciate sharing, Kelly. So as always, she's been really connecting with us, and it's always awesome to have have people always sharing and supporting us.
Yeah.
Definitely. Great. Now I'm going to say bingo for the rest of the night. Eric, know what to do? Go into a bingo hall, sit in a bingo, and just shout bingo every 2 minutes. Every number they call, just shout bingo. Then watch their faces like they're trying to kill you.
Guys, would you excuse me just for I gotta jump off for just a quick sec. I'll be right back.
Definitely.
All right, toodaloo. Don't end the broadcast. And then it says, I'm sympathising for looking me in the face and I missed them. I know. You're true what you say, Kelly. Lead a horse to water, can't make it drink. Don't say that, Lois. I did that. If you want to see murder, Eric, that's what you do in the bingo hall. Just shout bingo after every number. Watch their faces go. But it's been a great show, guys. Thank you very much.
Tell him to shout bongo, because then that will confuse people.
Shout bongo. Viv says shout bongo instead of bingo.
They're all confused.
It's been a great show. I want to thank all my viewers as usual. I want to thank Mama Viv for taking the time to come on. I absolutely loved her. Next Friday night, guys. I'm saying next Friday night. I'm thinking this is Friday. Fuck. Right, Sunday. Right, this coming Friday. Right, we're doing a big one for Frighteners. You're not leaving. Just go on. I tell you what, we'll do 5 more minutes, Kelly. Right. Basically, this Friday is an important one for Frighteners. We are doing mental health awareness, guys. I'm going to be sharing like mad. It's your day tomorrow, so that I can make everybody aware. I'm just trying to get my man's attention because my cat's been a little shit.
Maybe she did.
She'll try to get up the ocean. So basically, so mental health awareness, as everybody knows, it's a big one. It's close to a lot of people's hearts. Please join us in Frighteners. Please come in, interact. Even if you're having a bad day, please come along because we will cheer you up and we will make you smile. Quite personally, I'll be talking about my own journey with mental health. And that. So definitely on Tuesday's show, see you all Tuesday. Are you in Tuesday, Eric? Are you coming in Tuesday? Oh, is
He
it? Oh, yes.
He's got no
I'll
choice.
definitely
We kidnapped
Mm-mm.
him. We kidnapped him like you did with the others.
I don't call it kidnapping. It's adopting. Adopted Nick. I adopted Ian and Bry. I did
We've
not
adopted.
adopt him.
We've adopted Eric.
Oh, is Eric coming on? Oh, yeah. Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop, whoop. You always make me smile. Oh, thank you. But definitely, Tuesday, what we got on Tuesday apart from Eric? What's the subject on Tuesday?
We're talking about weird things collected on ghost hunts, and we're not talking about spirits that you bring home.
There was that one time where I had the handcuffs. I collected the handcuffs.
Oh yeah, kinky woman.
I think I was in a BDSM thing. I think I confused it. Great, what I was going to say is so many people enable the people that need
Do you
help
know?
without knowing it.
Here's a little taster. On the way home from a ghost hunt, Dan made me collect a dog that was running around on the street.
That's
You want to
just
know
that.
what?
You love
If you
that.
want to know why, tune in to find out.
Great. What I was going to say is so many people enable the people that need help without knowing it. They need to hit rock bottom before they do anything. Exactly, Kelly. That is the thing, is that these people do need help, or you'll get the ones that commit crimes and they're so cocky, talk their way out, and they're let go. I mean, I've just
John,
finished
don't
with
even think
Dylan.
it, John.
All right, you talked to the cat.
He
I've
needs
just
help.
finished. Oh, poor John. I've just finished the whole book series, Jason Neal's True Crime Histories, Kelly, and the pattern that I found was that most of them were in police custody and then they got released and they've committed more crimes. So I get totally what you're saying, Kelly. Eric says, you brought handcuffs home? Lois, you kinky woman, you. You wouldn't believe if I told you I brought home chains and whips, but I don't know what to do with these things, Eric. I mean, what do you do with these things?
Yeah. Are you trying to kid?
I will wait till Nicky Boy's back and then we'll end the show when Nick's back. Let's all talk about him. Let's all
Let's
call him a bastard.
talk about Nick. He's not so good looking since he's had his hair cut. I told him that.
In fact, I've just realised that I've changed the avatar. I need to change that back before. I'll get Nick to change it back because I changed Jeremy York's face to the Graven back because I thought it was going to be myself with the camera on, but there you go. And they are young. Got to ask where are the parents. Not everyone is like this, but it's a question that I asked. This comes down to the nature and nurture debate, Kelly. There's stories of crimes that I've read where I've read their backgrounds, and some of them have had the most horrendous backgrounds. But then you obviously read other ones. Mama Vibs froze. That they've had good lives and there's nothing that causes them to be. So you do. I mean, I love the nature nurture debate. It is really, really good. I'm beginning to think I've froze or Viv's froze. It's Viv. It's Viv. So I'm here all on my lonesome. So yeah, I'm beginning to think it is the nature nurture debate. It is. It's a tough one. Definitely, guys. Um, so I'm here. Nicky boy's away. Nicky, I wonder what he's putting out of that oven every time. Oh, I can hear the laughter. That means he's heard me. I didn't even catch that. Uh, But definitely, it's
Jeez. All right, I'm coming back. Hang on.
all right. You have to come back, Eric.
I'm
Shout
here,
and
Eric.
come back. But we're going to end the live here, guys. But thank
we
you
are?
very much. Well, if you
Oh.
want to continue on,
I don't know where you guys left. Did Vivian had to leave or?
no, I think her phone froze and she went. Kelly says we all have a choice. I think I did not have a good childhood, and I decided to hop off the merry-go-round. My choice.
Well, Kelly, I could kind of relate to that because, Lois, you already know this all too well. I didn't have such a good one either. I'm not saying that I had a completely horrible one. I mean, I had a lot of good moments growing up, but there were times I kind of had. I've always compared my childhood to 50-50. I've had, half of it was good, half of it was not so good. So I can relate to where you're coming from with that.
Definitely, Kelly. Rita says, Lois, I think you scared Biv. And that's because we were talking, right? And I said, Nick, let's choose the subject. And it was about, obviously, it's about weird things that you bring home. For ghost hunts and snow spirits. And I said, I started it off with, handcuffs.
Bingo!
And then somehow I says, I found these whips and chains, but I don't know what to do with them, Nick. I really don't know what to do with them. No, really, I was taking the piss.
Wow.
But guys, next week, join. It will go back to Thursday. The only reason why I did tonight was because I missed Thursday because I wasn't well. But this Thursday coming, we'll be talking about the Cleveland torso killer.
Yep.
And we'll have a full team. Fingers crossed.
One other thing, very quickly. At some point we'll have to schedule Bobby to come on to the show as a guest.
Yep, definitely. That would be awesome.
I was thinking of someone else. You know who else we should try to have? I mean, I know this is someone we've actually, I think he's watched the show at least once or twice. Is also should try to get Wes Coleman to come on as a guest since he is a corrections officer.
Yeah, in fact, that's the very person that I was trying to remember who else did it.
Yeah,
and
Wes.
It's Wes Coleman. I could think of a few things you could do with chains. Oh, Kelly. You make me blush.
A little bit personal there, Kelly.
Nicholas Mooley, you shouldn't know what to do with chains.
I don't. I actually don't, but I heard it's kind of personal.
That's what he's telling us, folks. You enjoy the rest of your week and behave yourselves, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Yep, we'll see you guys then, and until next time.
Bye.
Have a great one, guys.